I just got the news that the Congressional Review Act overturning the FCC's decision to repeal net neutrality just passed the Senate. Several Republicans joined with the Democrats, but it needs to go through the House, and the House is going to be the harder body to get. So I'm making this video because I am shocked and appalled to find out that my representative, Ted Lieu, who bills himself as a progressive Democrat, who promised me at Paul Song's fundraiser in the summer of 2014, before I gave him $100 for his campaign, that he was in support of net neutrality, is still not listed as being one of the Congress people in California who signed on to this, this bill. Now, there are 36 Democrats. Every single progressive Democrat and even some moderate Democrats have signed on to this. The only ones opposed are 4 DINOs and Ted Lieu. And those people are Carrera, Costa, Peters, and Ruiz, and then Ted Lieu. Now, this is really outrageous because I did not vote for Ted Lieu even after I contributed $100 to him. And the reason for that was he got really hawkish on Israel. He actually sent out a mailer, a direct mail piece on Rosh Hashanah in the High Holy Days in 2014, calling for a resolution to condemn Hamas. This is during Israel's Operation Cast Lead, after it had disproportionately responded to Hamas's ineffectual lobbing of rockets into Israel. Human rights violations, war crimes were committed, but Ted Lieu was asking for Hamas to be condemned. And then I saw him on a live stream of a debate with his Republican opponent, Elon Carr, basically saying, and I quote, that anyone who supports the BDS movement is an anti-Semitic bigot. So essentially, he was calling me a self-hating Jew because I support the BDS movement. So at that point, I decided I couldn't vote for him. Since then, I have watched him do terrible things, most notably vote against the Iran deal. So he is in the pocket of AIPAC. He is in the pocket of the defense industry. He's former military himself. And it is really interesting because he has spent the last year and a half doing nothing but being Trump's chief antagonist. All he does is tweet against Trump and go on cable news shows. And he actually posts on Twitter articles showing how he is Trump's chief antagonist. Like, that's something to be proud about. So instead of doing the people's business, he is trying to make a name for himself being against Trump. Now, at least Adam Schiff, who's also one of Trump's chief antagonists, voted for the Congressional Review Act for net neutrality. And it's absolutely crazy that Ted Lieu has not signed on to this. So even though I said at the beginning of the year I wasn't going to organize any more protests, I am hereby declaring that I am going to organize a protest outside of Ted Lieu's office sometime in the next week, unless he signs on to this thing. So to save me some trouble, if people could call his office, if they could post on his Facebook page, comments on his Facebook page posts, and tweet him that he needs to sign this thing. Otherwise, he will face a severe protest. And trust me, I know all the activists in Los Angeles, and we're all going to get behind this protest. This is really outrageous. Also, you notice that with all his tweeting against Trump, he didn't do one tweet about how Trump got us out of the Iran deal, which is extremely dangerous because he's listening to John Bolton. And the reason that Ted Lieu did not tweet against that horrible decision that every single Democrat was condemning was that he voted against the Iran deal. So it would be awfully hypocritical for him to condemn what Trump did, even though he condemns everything else that Trump does. So this is what we need to do with net neutrality. We need to contact Ted Lieu's office. We need to contact those other Democrats, and we need to contact the Republicans, because net neutrality is a bipartisan issue. something like 86% of the country support net neutrality. So this is going to be a heavy lift. We've got to get the rest of Congress to sign on to the Congressional Review Act. And then, even then, it may take some lawsuits. And I'm going to try to get Evan Greer from Fight for the Future on my show Sunday night to talk more about this. But in the meantime, tonight I will be live streaming from Doug Applegate's fundraiser in Silver Lake. And some of you may have seen Doug Applegate on my show. Sunday night, I had Cara Eastman. And Cara won last night in Nebraska, in the 2nd Congressional District, even though she was not supported by the DCCC, which, by the way, Ted Lieu is the co-chair of. And I've done 5 shows. I'm probably going to do more on my series called Will the Real Progressive Please Stand Up, in which I'm interviewing progressive candidates who are being thwarted by the DCCC, who are instead supporting moderate corporatist centrists. And this is exactly what they did in 2016. And it didn't work for them well in 2016. It's not going to work for them in 2018. And as we see, last night, 2 Democratic socialists won their races, along with Cara in Nebraska. So we need progressive candidates, not moderates. And you remember that Chuck Schumer famously said, when told that they were losing the rural Democrats in, the Democrats in rural Pennsylvania, he said, "Oh, don't worry, or every Democrat we lose in rural Pennsylvania, we will pick up 2 moderate Republicans in the suburbs." And that will be repeated in Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin, and we all know how that worked out for them. So the Democratic Party better get hip to the fact that they should be supporting their progressives. So I'm going to be at Doug Applegate's fundraiser tonight. My next show is going to be Sunday night. I'm going to have Josh Jones, who's running for governor here in California as a Green Party candidate. And I'm not wild about any of the candidates for governor. I was supporting Michael Bracamontes until he dropped out. So I'm going to give Josh Jones a platform because he was part of Occupy Davis. He was also part of the Bernie Sanders campaign in Davis. And then he went green and supported Jill Stein after Bernie lost the nomination. And then he went back to being a Democrat to help get some progressive ADEMs elected. And now he is a Green again and running for governor. Also follow me on Twitter at Lauren_Steiner. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Lauren from LA. And when you subscribe, please click the bell. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you my show tomorrow night. It's even more important. It's about Israel, and should Israel be tried for war crimes. And I'm having on Marjorie Cohn, who's a professor emeritus down at, oh gosh, I forget the name of her law school, who has written an article saying that Israel should be tried for war crimes. And also Stephen Zunes, who is a professor of politics and Mideast studies at San Francisco State. I think that's it. Sorry if I'm getting the universities wrong, but it's going to be a great show. And we're going to be talking about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict and dispelling a lot of myths that a lot of what I call low-information voter Jews in America have been laboring under these misconceptions for decades. Like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel and please click the bell. And that way you will be notified in your email inbox when I post a new show. So until you see me later tonight, keep fighting.